on the one hand, you could watch at it and say, wow, Trump seemed to lose his cool a lot. That will hurt him. And then on the other hand, we say, we've watched this play out over the years, and with his core supporters, does it help him?
Yeah.
That's the question. I mean, every time we think that Trump is going to go down in the polls, he seems to go back up. But it was really remarkable to see just how rattled Trump gets. Any bit of criticism, even from some boos in the crowd, you can see him get angry and call people out. Where other candidates, when Rubio, for instance, was getting booed or heckled at one point, just talked over the boos and tried to ignore it. Not Trump. He seems to get pulled into a tit for tat with audience members, and also Jeb Bush too. Yeah. Jeb Bush is not nearly the kind of target that Donald Trump in threat for Donald Trump in South Carolina, the way that Ted Cruz is. But Donald Trump, time and time again, kept going after Jeb Bush just because Jeb Bush gets under his skin.
Well, I was going to say, Jeb Bush has gotten a lot better about responding to Trump and getting under. He's figured out how to get under Trump's skin, and that's been fascinating to watch because Jeb Bush, 4 months ago, would have wilted under that sort of
no
Trump
more low
attack.
energy Jeb.
Well, no, for the first time last night, Jeb earned the exclamation point at the end of his name, right? And what I think is interesting about this is Trump went left on a few issues, at least for Republicans. It is not popular to accuse George W. Bush of being responsible for 9/11. It is in South Carolina, the war in Iraq is most voters down there in the Republican primary do not have the view that Trump has. He talked about Planned Parenthood in a positive way at one point. And the fascinating thing about Trump's success so far is that he has managed to win voters despite his heresies on a whole number of issues. When you have candidates like Cruz and Trump trying to tell the Republican electorate, this guy's not one of us, he's not a true conservative. And will this finally change in South Carolina? Can his opponents finally crack the code on Trump and get the voters to say, wait a second, he's not a conservative? And you have to wonder if the Scalia death plays into that.
That's an interesting point. And one quick fact check, Donald Trump repeated again last night in the debate that he was an early opponent of the Iraq War. Simply not the case. If you go back and look through time, in 2003, before the war, there's no public record of Trump saying, don't do this. There is in 2004, after the war was going south, he became very vocal in saying Bush was mangling the administration of the war, but he keeps saying that he was out there vocally before the war, and Mr. Trump, if there's public record, send it on in. We'd love to see it, but it doesn't exist if you go looking for it. Let's move on to the point you were making, because you would think that he'd be more in a fight with Ted Cruz, who has an evangelical base in South Carolina, than Jeb Bush. And he has been on Twitter first, repeatedly in recent days, tweeting about Ted Cruz, including this one just before the debate. Ted Cruz is a cheater. He holds the Bible high and then lies and misrepresents the facts. And then in the debate last night, Trump and Cruz head to head.
You are the single biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush. You are the single biggest liar. And today, we had robocalls saying Donald Trump is not going to run in South Carolina, where I'm leading by a lot. I'm not going to run. Vote for Ted Cruz. This is the same thing he did to Ben Carson. This guy will say anything. Nasty guy. Now I know why he doesn't have one endorsement from any of his colleagues.
Donald didn't disagree with the substance, that he supports taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood. And Donald has this weird pattern. When you point to his own record, he screams, liar, liar, liar.
The stakes for these two guys are enormous. If Trump can get a win in South Carolina on Saturday, after his big win in New Hampshire, then he heads south. He talks about the wall. He talks about amnesty. He talks about banning Muslims. And you'd have to say he's in pretty strong shape heading into the southern primaries. If Cruz gets the win, same thing. He's the conservative candidate. You mentioned the Supreme Court pick now in the mix, and he's going into a Super Tuesday SEC primary where most of the states have a high percentage of evangelical and Tea Party voters. So that was not a surprise. Did anybody win that confrontation?
I don't know if anybody won it, but it's very clear where the battle lines are drawn. I think that Cruz has potentially a slight advantage because he can claim the outsider mantle in the same way that Trump can, simply because he is so loathed by GOP leaders. But he does have an extremely conservative record that he can fall back on. And I think some of the most effective ads and the most effective attacks against Trump over the last several weeks have been pointing to statements he's made, as recently as a couple years ago, which make him look a lot more liberal. So if Cruz can either win in South Carolina or stay very close to Trump, I do think he has a good playing field in front of him.
And it's interesting to hear the L word, liar, being used
over
and
and over
repeatedly, not just by Trump, but also Marco Rubio in that fight over immigration. Just shows that Cruz really occupies a level of support that both Trump and Rubio need to tap into to have a pretty successful night.